lot of companies back then that would use reverse mergers, raise $1 to $5 million, go public. And yes, 80%, 90% of them shouldn't have. They went public too soon, or they got fed a bill of goods by a banker to do it. And they were kind of, tossed in the deep end of the pool to figure out how to be a public company, and they drowned. Now you're kind of, at least in the US, you don't have very many companies going public as small micro caps anymore. And it's really a shame. That's why over time it's become more important to be sort of a worldwide microcap investor or an international one. The complete opposite of what I just said is happening in Canada. And so in Canada, where their private markets, their VC markets aren't as robust as down here in the United States, a lot of companies, that's why it's called the venture market up there, venture exchange, they can go public, raise $5 or $10 million relatively easily and go right into being public. And you're seeing here recently, a lot of US companies going public in Canada because it's easier for them to raise capital and go public in Canada than it is even down here in the United States, which is a real shame.
And Australia too.
Australia.
One of the advantages of Australia is that there's no secondary board. So there's the Toronto TSX .V is the venture market there, and then UK has the AIM, which is a secondary board. The Australian Stock Exchange has no secondary board, so the listing rules are lower for anybody, which I think is, if you're listing as a company, then you get that ASX brand, which is sufficiently well respected around the world that it does show that you're listed, you're subject to all the rules, you've got to file audited financials and so on. They got a half-year filing rather than quarterly filing. And that's an ecosystem that I like too, because there's a lot of self-managed super funds, which are the 401k equivalent in Australia. And Australians like to gamble, and they like to gamble on small mining companies a lot, because that's a lot of what comes to market. Basically, all they have is staked out ground. They've got a right to explore, and they raise money to go and explore. Like that's what you're paying for. So the strike rate is low, but when they hit enormously, which is, it's a little bit like buying the lottery ticket. So I think that it's a shame that you don't see a lot of it in the States. There's not enough of it in the States, but you can find it. And I just seconding what you say, you can find it in Canada, and you can find it in Australia. And it's always fun, I think, to go and look at those little companies.
You have a population, and probably the dynamics between Canada and Australia are kind of similar. They're kind of resource-based cultures. Probably everybody grew up owning a junior mining stock in Australia or Canada, and so risk is part of your profile. Here in the United States, it's just like, why would you own something risky? That's just awful. And it really annoys me, because what does Canada have? 38 million people as a population. We have 380 million down here, and it's much easier for a company to go public, raise 10 million, and be a listed company under the same basically auditing controls as they have down here. It just bothers me, and eventually, hopefully that will change down here to where we can bring small companies public, good companies public effectively in the US again. Bank of America, Merrill, you can no longer even buy anything sub $5 in an account.
Really?
That's kind of the situation it is here in the United States. So that just puts a big freeze, on everything. And it's a combination of everything. I don't want to beat it up too much, but it's hard to believe it can get worse. So that means it should be getting better.